We flew to Austin, drove to Amarillo, then Santa Fe, Denver, flew to Vegas and San Francisco before coming home. So here we are in Austin, Texas. This is me in a baker shop in 6th Street, Austin, first day we got there. This is downtown Austin, down where the poor people live. The Hotel Driscoll, named after a very famous cattle baron who wanted to build a very upmarket hotel. It's still a beautiful place, quite amazing. Then on to the Lone Star Roundup. Some really interesting people there. Back in South Congress Avenue in the heart of Austin, Texas. People hanging out in the afternoon watching all the cars go by. This is a Revival bus. Check out the writing on the side. This is an electric Mustang, one of the fastest cars on the road. There's the engine. Anyone that's seen cars know who this is. This is Mater. And here is the real thing in SoCo. Guy riding a mule. That's not a horse, it's a mule. He rode it into a shop where we were looking at some Western clothes, and with a guy who was on a guitar there, sang some really good Western songs. Great way to get consumers to come into your store. This is partying on SoCo as it went on into the night. This is Miss Allison, the barkeep back at our hotel. And the band, or one of the bands that played there every night. They were really good. Then we head off north to the most dangerous prairie in Texas. We started at Abilene, and at an exhibition there we saw this hologram of a Comanche chief who was renowned for trying to negotiate peace rather than war with the white men. And Pat Garrett, another hologram. Pat Garrett was the sheriff who shot Billy the Kid. From there we went not far to one of the forts set up to protect the early settlers from the Indians. Fort Phantom Hill. We were there with no one else. It was great. These are some oil pumps or oil rigs from that part of the world. There's a lot of oil there, and you see oil pumps going in all the paddocks where cattle are grazing. And another fort Fort Griffin, where Robert E. Lee was the commanding officer. This is the bunkhouse where the soldiers slept. They had buffalo soldiers there, the first black soldiers in the US Army. This is where the sergeant slept. This is the bakery. This is the armory. No windows, but stocked with weapons like it used to be. Away from the military part, down by the river, is what they call the flat, and here's a saloon that was occupied or frequented by some pretty well-known people. Here they are. All these buildings are in original condition. Absolutely sensational. Further along the trail, we came to a site where there was a memorial set up only a few years ago by a local family that still own the land. This is where the raid took place. Further along, at Jacksboro, where we couldn't get a drink. But this is the place where we stayed overnight. Note the open Bible on the table, just in case you are driven in that direction. This is our bedroom. You have to climb up into this bed. Beautiful downtown Aspermont. Further along, we came to Palo Duro Canyon, where Quena Parker, the famous Comanche chief, fought some of his last battles before heading to the reservation. Two of his children. This is where he led the 7th Cavalry on a merry chase, where he took his tribe up and down the walls of this canyon to escape them. Nearby Canyon, another town in Texas, the more scary thing of these, Christians. Your mother in a bar in a mock-up village inside the best museum to that part of the world. It was just great. Shot out the window, heading towards Amarillo. This is where the Comanches ruled supreme. This is coming into Amarillo. Happy is a place just outside Amarillo. This is Gail getting ready to go to dinner at the Big Texan with our driver. This is the mascot of the Big Texan restaurant, a big fat rattlesnake. And this is the restaurant, full on. Wandering minstrels playing the Yellow Rose of Texas. It was great. These two Australians were trying to eat a 4-kilo steak in record time. They didn't make it. This is Route 66, very down market now. The song's the only good thing left of Route 66. Big house in Amarillo, Main Street, Amarillo. Cadillac Ranch, just outside Amarillo, very famous place where some architects, artists embedded these Cadillacs at 45 degrees into the dirt. They did it in the 1970s. And just down the road, we've got the Second Amendment Cavalry, bearing testament to every American's right to arm bears. The freeway to New Mexico from Amarillo. Santa Fe, it's 400-year-old buildings where the Comancheros would meet with Comanches to trade women and children back to their families. And all sorts of other things were traded too, guns, whiskey, you name it. Today it's full of very wealthy former hippies. This is the hotel we stayed in, very upmarket. Beautiful little courtyards in lovely old buildings, lots of shops. This is on the road to Taos out of Santa Fe. This is Rio Grande River running through off into the distance. And this is where the Comanches captured another 60 women in a raid. They were never seen again, probably taken to Santa Fe and traded. The Rio Grande River again. And just outside Taos, these earth ships, built entirely of recycled materials and totally off the grid for electricity and water and sewerage. Just amazing what can be done. This is Bambi, who we met on a jolly up to Red River out of Taos. Encountered some snow, thought we were going to get snowed in, so headed back. But the next day we went to a house that was built just after peace was made with the Comanches and the Kiowa, and so Spanish settlers were able to build houses. This is one of them. This place had no external windows, just in case the Indians changed their mind. This is a pattern from which the women would weave socks. And these are little wagons that the priests, the Catholic priests, would tow around the village to scare the locals into remaining good Christians. This is a kitchen, as it was in those days, with the baby's bassinet hung near the fire to keep warm. This is an old church, now a restaurant, where Gail and I had dinner. Wonderful place. And in the basement of the Hotel Fonda where we stayed, amazingly, was all this art that was confiscated in Britain for being obscene. This Pueblo village was built before the Norman conquest and has been occupied continually since then. In the old days, when the Comanches came, the Pueblos would pull the ladder up and stand on the roof to fight them. This is heading to Colorado out of New Mexico, and that snowstorm up there is what we went through. This is Garden of the Gods, just before Colorado Springs in Colorado. Nicholas's house, Leon's Gulu. Won't say anything about this, or this, or this, or this. Botanical Gardens in Denver, beautiful Japanese gardens. Red Rock, the best rock venue on the planet, where every rock group in history has played at some time or another. Heading up to Grand Butte, where Nicholas has got a smile because he's got a hookup for this beautiful trout. Beautiful, beautiful country. And a beautiful cowboy type town. Beautiful cowboy type food. Beautiful cowboy type car. The Bellagio in Vegas, where we stayed. Looking out the window down onto the gardens. Me at the gun range with a fully automatic 1,000 rounds a minute rate of fire, sensational machine gun. And back in California at Joan and Steve's place.